Hey, welcome back, everybody, to my second podcast where I wanted to talk about my favorite game of all time. Uh, I feel like this game is kind of an oddball choice. It's when I hear a lot of people talk about their favorite game of all time, I get a lot of your typical answers. Um, a Mario game, a Zelda game, a Final Fantasy game, Earthbound, um, Banjo Kazooie, Donkey Kong, uh, things like that. Like a lot of your quote unquote mainstream titles. But no one really seems to have like the same fondness for the Sega Genesis that I do. Maybe because I was kind of a Sega fanboy back in the day. I love Nintendo, but Sega just had so many games on it that I loved, and it was kind of like king of beat 'em ups, which is like my favorite genre. And yes, I'm making you watch me go and get my control set up because it gives me some preemptive time before the game actually starts. Um, but I think I played this game when I was like 6 or 7, and I never really owned this game. I never owned and even touched or seen a physical cartridge of it until about a year ago. I played it originally on the Sega Channel, and for those who don't know what that is, that was like the OG streaming service for video games. Before GameFly, it was like the Netflix of Sega games, and every month they would cycle out what titles you could play. And it was like the second month, I think, that we had the system that we got the Comix Zone. It was one of the games on there. And me and my dad were super big into comics back in the day. I mean, he still is, and I still love comics. I just don't collect them as much as I used to. And I played a lot of games that were, based on comics, but, Maximum Carnage, Death and Return of Superman, Marvel War of the Gems, X-Men 1 and 2 on the Sega Genesis, but no game like right here, you can, you're in a goddamn comic book. And it was one of the coolest things to me. And no game had really ever done it, and still hasn't done it, to my knowledge, unless someone can correct me. So, like, what exactly is so good about this game that makes me hold it with such a fondness that I can put it above, tried and true titles that have been around for ages? Like, I mean, there's so many good games. How could I put this game above them? And the first and foremost, it's the concept of this game. Look at it. Just look at it. Look at the sprites. Look at everything about it. The aesthetic of this game is fantastic. And here in this level, you're in a dystopian New York. Everything's falling apart. It's a wasteland, and you're fighting all these enemies. Which I'll get into, what they are and how this all happens, because I kind of skipped the beginning. Probably should have let that run. The main character is so good about this game. Part of the concept, you're just the everyman, and you just become this badass superhero entering this comic book. He's kind of a cocky asshole, and well, not really an asshole. He's just kind of cocky. As you can see with like the word bubbles and stuff when he talks to his enemies. It's just, yeah, the aesthetic and the whole idea of it is beautiful to me. I love it. The music in this game, I'm gonna try to have it so you can kind of hear the background music and the stuff going on as I'm talking. The music in this game is goddamn glorious. Just like really listen to some of these tracks sometime. You might not be able to, like, because I won't shut my mouth here, but if you go on YouTube, look up some of these soundtracks, the whole thing. There's something about the Sega chip, that Yamaha chip, that just makes this game sound so good. And I feel like since I'm playing on the Sega emulator on Steam, even that can't really replicate the sound effects very well. You might hear like a clipping here or two of the music or sound effects. So if you just listen to them in their entirety without any way for the emulation to screw with it, these are tunes that have been stuck in my head since I was a kid. I could hum a lot of these just by heart, and I often still do every time I think about this game. Welcome to the Temple, which I believe is the second chapter, which you'll see me get to, is probably one of my favorite tunes, in addition to just like the first couple of panels of World 1. It's just something about beat 'em ups have really good music in general, and this game is no exception. It kind of keeps you in the moment the whole time, and it feels fantastic. Oh god, just and like here, it scores you on your combos and stuff like that. So here's a part where I kind of want to talk about before I continue on with the music and stuff. The game, people often criticize this game for its difficulty. Like right here in this first part, if you don't have Roadkill, you don't have TNT, you can't break down that wall unless you punch it, and you lose life for that. But if you have Roadkill, you know there's a TNT there. I just laid around Roadkill, and that's, I'll talk about this in Power-Ups. Roadkill can find things for you if you know where they are in the game. And there's various Power-Ups that you can find with Roadkill. He'll just tear the page open, and you can get a free up, So if you know, it's kind of like a trial and error thing, like how the hell would you know that? But when you find out that Roadkill can find things for you, you kind of find it out by trial and error, just by accident. You just kind of start throwing them out at random to see if there's items there, and that's no exception. You find a wall, and you have Roadkill with you, and you're like, well, fuck, how am I supposed to open this wall? You kind of just intuitively think, well, what if, maybe there's something here. Roadkill will find it for me. So you drop Roadkill, and sure enough, there's TNT to blow open the door for you. And then, just in the panel above that, Roadkill can interact with objects for you. So that fan, like, how the fuck do I get through this fan? Roadkill goes under it, and hits the switch for you. It's fucking brilliant. Like, I love the Power-Ups in this game, and I'm gonna just gush about Roadkill as a game mechanic, and as a Power-Up in a little bit here, more than I just did. But yeah, the game gets criticized often for its difficulty because, you take damage when you punch walls or punch obstacles. Health can be considered sparse, but it's usually hidden. You just have to look for it. At the end of that first level, you saw me jump over that pit. That's another area that people consider to be rather cheap. But I'll kind of go over that again in a little bit. But the game's difficulty is extremely overblown. The game's not even that long. I mean, I think this game, I have like a half-hour of footage here, and you'll see at the end that I kind of blew it. I screwed up, but it's not the game's fault, and I'll explain why I fucked up and where I fucked up. But yeah, I guess I'll touch on that a bit too. I'm trying not to deviate too much here, but I'll talk about Power-Ups next. Power-Ups in this game are fantastic. I don't know why Power-Ups have kind of vanished from most gaming outside of Nintendo, or even Sonic games. Like, Sonic games don't really have Power-Ups anymore, like I talked about in my past podcast there. So in this game, you have an assortment of Power-Ups. You have TNT, which you can just drop at your feet like I did at the beginning of this level here. It pretty much destroys every obstacle, anything that you can blow up in one go. You can get a throwable grenade, which you'll see me get later. It kind of throws it in an arc, and you can kind of hit enemies above you or under you. There's a knife that you can throw, which I had at the beginning. Here, I'm going to stop for just a sec. I love this. This is game design right here, one-on-one people. This is a boss that you can normally fight if you don't know there's a barrel on the other side. You can still beat him. It's just tedious as fuck because he'll shoot fireballs and he'll kind of like scratch at you. But if you beat him up just enough to go underneath him, there's that barrel there. And you can have him ignite the barrel and just push it underneath him. And you don't even have to punch him anymore. So it's one of those... fucking love this game. It's little shit like that. I didn't figure that out for the longest time as a kid. And here's Welcome to the Temple, like one of my favorite freaking tracks in this entire game. Oh my god, it's so good. Oh, god, I could gush about this game forever. So Power-Ups. So yeah, you have the knife. The knife you just throw it in front of you, and it deals a lot of damage. I believe it kills most enemies. It'll just kill them in one hit. Then you get a Power Fist, which I currently have in my power bar, which you'll probably see me use in a little bit. It's basically a screen clear. Like if you've ever played like shoot 'em ups and stuff like that, oftentimes you'll get like power up that'll just nuke the field. Or in old beat 'em ups, when you came back to life, you'd come down and like deal a lot of damage to enemies and stuff just for spawning. Well, in this, yeah, you just nuke the screen. And there's usually never too many enemies on the screen at a time, but sometimes there's just enemies that are giving you a hard time, and you just want to kill them. You don't want to waste life. And then there's Roadkill. I love Roadkill. I love everything about this. Not only do I love rodents, anybody who knows me knows I love rodents. Here's a secret health. If you break open this box, it's not technically a secret, but there's a health in there. It's worth losing a little bit of life to pick it up. Roadkill is almost essential to this game, and once you learn how to use him properly, you drop him down, and he can run around, and he'll find hidden items for you. He'll just kind of tear the page for you and you pick it up. And there's not secrets in every panel. You'll learn where they are as you play the game. But he's imperative to finding mostly health. Like, health is one of the things that you'll find that you need the most. But in the case of level 2, where there's that door, if you don't have the TNT, then you need Roadkill to rip the page for you. Otherwise, you're going to spend probably a quarter of your life busting down that door. Roadkill, not only to finding secrets, he can shock enemies that he touches, so you can use him for combat, too. And he actually has a use against one particular enemy, which you will see me use, I believe in this one. I might have done it in a later level, but you will see there's a specific enemy that's actually just, you'll one-hit KO these enemies with Roadkill. So not only can he damage enemies, he can find secrets, he interacts with the environment. As you saw on the other level, he flips a switch. Here's me being a fucking idiot. I didn't have to do this, I'm just a freaking idiot. Excuse me. Because I kind of forgot how to deal with this particular room. So yeah, he'll like flip switches for you. There are certain environmental hazards that he won't trigger, like there's some mines that he can walk over that he won't blow them up, so he can hit a switch for you. There's one part in the game where you actually have to have him flip a switch to lift an obstacle, and you kind of have to leave him behind. I believe it's in like the level after this, I think, or it might be later in this one. I'll point it out when it happens. So sometimes you kind of have to sacrifice him, which kind of sucks because I hate losing him. But you don't carry, you know, it's one of those things you have to do it if you don't want to lose life breaking down. And he doesn't have any use against that boss anyway. But the uses for this rat are, like I said, he's almost essential to completing the game. Here I was an idiot. I forgot you have to blow up these barrels before you can actually progress. So I was trying to find a secret item. I couldn't remember if there's an item here or not. Roadkill can also get attacked by enemies if you're not careful with him when you have him running around like that. So if he takes too many hits, he will, without being picked up, he'll actually get knocked down to he'll get knocked down to lower panels. And you might find him again later, you might not. But losing him, I was actually trying to remember how to do the paper airplane technique here. So you can see me, there's like hitting buttons. There we go, I figured it out. I feel smart. And then I get hit by my own plane because I'm stupid. I'm like, yeah, look, plane, bam. It's the one downside. I guess that counts as a power-up. I'll discuss that in a second, too. So yeah, every time you lose Roadkill, you just feel shitty. Because you need him, he's helpful, and just, yeah, almost mandatory to the game. So his other power-up, I guess, is like his special move is if you hold the punch button, you'll tear off some of the page and throw it like a paper airplane. It's a paper airplane. And I'm pretty sure that will kill all enemies and obstacles that it hits, except for bosses. And I believe it's actually mandatory for speedrunning this game sometimes. You can just cheese out certain enemies in certain panels. But it does use life. So yeah, there's a lot of things that kind of chew up your life. And just knowing when to use things and whether or not it's, is it worth the risk? Risk and reward in this game. But yeah, Roadkill, fantastic power-up design, game design. I love him. And it's funny that he's introduced in a beat 'em up, of all things. Like, he definitely feels like something that you'd use in an RPG or an adventure game. Like, you know, an open world adventure game, you drop him down like I can't really think of a game that off the top of my head. I guess it feels like a Ratchet and Clank type of thing. Like, you'd use Clank to do something, and that's what Roadkill would do. But no, this isn't a fucking beat 'em up from 1990 some odd. You know, it's beautiful design, and I love it. I'll talk about difficulty next, because I think that's the biggest problem that this game is criticized for, is its difficulty. And it's often overblown to me. I feel like this game doesn't do a lot of things that are cheap. Once you understand, it's like any video game. Once you understand the mechanics of the game, yeah, see right there, Roadkill kills those girls in one shock, because they're like scared of rats. Is their whole thing. So there's a section later on where you have to use him. You can use him to get through them really fast. Here I was an idiot. I almost lost Roadkill because he goes after enemies. But there's a power-up here that I wanted to use to kill him. There's a throwable grenade. So I had to use my screen clear. Anyway, difficulty of this game. See, again, just like little things. Like, once you know where secrets are, this game is not, it's not the beast that people think it is. Excuse me. So here's a segment that I'll talk about when people talk about difficulty. So this part is actually really stressful. I don't have a lot of life, and I'm losing a little bit of life trying to kick that wall. And I got those creeps chasing me. And there's this fucker here. So you beat this guy up. He actually dies way easier than most of those enemies would, which is really helpful. But if you get hit just right, you can fall off of this rope and just die there. So it's really stressful. And then here, too, where you don't want to jump around too much, because if one of those creeps gets behind you and they hit you just right, then you'll just fall down that pit by mistake, because there's knockback when you're in the air. So this segment feels cheap, but I really don't think it is. It's not. If you know what you're doing and you're just careful, then it's not that bad. It's not unfair. I mean, you just have to know how to handle the situation and be swift. Like, yeah, like see, I got hit there and I got knocked back. If I'd been facing the wrong way, I would have gotten knocked off the side. I've had that happen before. Another level 1 I mentioned at the very end there's that pit that you jump over. It's kind of a strict jump, and then you also have enemies to deal with that are kind of in the way, and you can accidentally get knocked off the side if you're not careful. But again, if you know what's going on and you approach the situation properly, then you don't have to really worry about that. It's not that cheap. Here's kind of a fun little puzzle. I was screwing it up, I figured it out eventually, but you jump up, grab that, it opens up the thing, and you have to roll underneath it. And also, pro tip, you'll find out later, if you don't have Roadkill, Roadkill is hiding behind that trap. So here's an example of, like, other people were saying this game is cheap. If you find question marks, there's a chance that they'll self-destruct like they did to me here. But it's one of those things where it's risk versus reward. If you can get an item, or it'll blow up on you. Do you risk picking it up, or do you just not take that gamble? So the game's not really cheap when you know, it's the first time it happens to you, like, that's fucking bullshit. But you're like, you learned your lesson. You're like, okay, that's potentially bad. See, look, there's Roadkill. You'll find him. Boop. There you go. So now you got him with you. So here I go again. I'm trying it again. I know it blows up, but I tried it again because I wanted an item, and I lost half a health bar for it. Luckily, this guy will drop a health pack for you. So if you survive that, the game's kind of like, okay, beat this guy up, and you get an iced tea. And that was a power-up I glossed over. You get iced tea for health. So it's not super cheap design. Like, it's not quarter-munching bullshit like in a lot of these beat-em-ups. Here, Roadkill again. I'll use Roadkill to kill these bitches a little bit faster because they're a pain in the ass. So I held her in place, Roadkill shocked her. There she goes. Break this page open. There's another one. Drop Roadkill. Beat her up a little bit. Shocks her, kills her. It's, again, more uses for this rat. Like, it's such good game design. God, I love that. I love that thing. So, yeah, with the difficulty, another thing people really hate is the fact that if you punch inanimate objects in paper, you know, like these paper strips here, you'll lose health. I don't feel that's cheap. I don't think that's hard difficulty. You know what's going to happen. You realize it's a thing. The game gives you the items about 98% of the time that you need to handle your situation. Like here. Like, this isn't a difficult part of the map. Like, here I was like, okay, I could try to fight this guy. But the game gave me that grenade at the upper panel. So it's like, alright, so fuck it. I'm just going to throw it at him. Bam, he's dead. Now, in the next panel, there's a trap at the end of this that if you fall down, you're going to get hurt. But look, the game gives me a TNT. So I go on here, I drop the TNT, and I blow up that razor trap that's at the bottom. People who don't know about that would think this game is cheap, because when you come down here, you get to the bottom, there's that razor trap, and you take damage and potentially die. But again, it's a little bit of trial and error. But look, there's another object, another item forming, because there's secrets in this game. Here, most people would just punch these bags and lose a lot of life, so people think this is retarded and cheap. But you can just let him do it for you. You just hang back, let him shoot his fireballs, and then you beat him up. So, is it dumb that he loses life for punching things? I mean, he is in a comic book. You know, why use some realism there? I just think the game teaches you this management system, and I don't feel it's that obnoxious. I don't feel it's broken. I don't feel it's cheap. It's a mechanic of the game. You learn about it, and you just approach every situation the way the game designers kind of had in mind. And you feel good when you beat this game. This game is only like a half hour long, and I haven't played this game in forever, and I'm playing it now, and you can see me making dumb mistakes, but, you know, I'm learning. I'm remembering things, and I'm handling the situations better. Here is where you have to lose Roadkill. You know, you have him go hit that switch for you, and I walk into this thing anyway because I'm dumb, but then you go behind you. you just because Roadkill can't get underneath that, so you can't wait for him to come back to you. But it's fine. Now you're fighting this boss. So yeah, I don't feel like losing the life is a bad thing. You just learn to manage your time. You know, you learn the best routes to go. You learn to save certain items, when to use them, how to use them. Because the game gives you all the tools. It gives you everything you need to beat this game. It's just learning where to use them and how to use them. And what's more important to you is getting through this particular boss. You know, because I can use items on him. I do use items. I do throw my knife at him. Is it important to save that knife for later, or do I need it now? You know, like the knife isn't as intricate, as, integral to the game, or integral to the game as the TNT and the grenades and stuff. But see, I throw my knife, bam, because you hit him onto his own nails. It's like the secret. That's how you beat him. The continues. I'll address that that elephant in the room. The continues are where people feel the game suffers. Like, combined with its perceived difficulty, the game only gives you a limited amount of continues. Very few. I think you have your initial life, and then you have 2 more lives that you can get throughout the game. You earn them after the first level and after the second level, after you beat the temple, I think. So you get a total of 3 lives, and once you run out, you lose. You have to start all over. And of course, if you continue, then you start at the beginning of the level. Again, the game isn't long, and it's not that hard. I think 3 continues is more than generous. If I hadn't derped at the end here, like at the, because I assessed the, I assessed the risks, and I took the gamble, and I'll point it out when it happens, and that's what cost me the game. That's what cost me my run. It's not the game being cheap. It's just I got greedy because I knew there was a risk of me dying if I did what I wanted. You know, if I took the items. So yeah, the game isn't even that hard. The game gives you everything you need. Like, you've got a bunch of different moves you can do. Enemies will block a lot, but you can mix up your attacks and they won't block properly. You know, enemies hurt each other. Like right there, I just had that enemy hurt himself, so that's another little nifty tip. If you get in a room with multiple enemies, the Strigals hurt each other all the time. Here's a good option. The nice thing with Roadkill, you can't get over this guy. You drop in Roadkill, they give you him early, and you can let this enemy hurt this one for you, and then he just dies. But then you can just beat the shit out of this thing and get Roadkill. Just because Roadkill can't be hurt by that. I love the rat. I'm sorry, I'm going to brag. I'm just going to rant about it. I love this rat. And then they give you a TNT for this next area after you beat it. So here, I had to take a hit because I screwed up here. You have to watch out for the creep. So again, I can see why people think this is a cheap spot in the level. Because if you try to jump and attack that creep, which I recommend you don't do, you're going to get knocked back onto that. So here, you throw the TNT, and I'm supposed to run with it further than I did, and it's supposed to blow that up too. But I screwed up. So here, I just got the Power Blast. The Power Blast won't blow those up, so I tried to stay far enough back. I think you can stay far enough back where you can kick that, and it won't, you won't get hurt, but I fucked up. So again, I derped. It's just, once you learn, you live and you learn. I know I'm just all over the place on this, and I'm sorry. I have a script, but I don't like reading right off the script. It doesn't feel as genuine. So here, you know, more level design, you drop down this explosive box, you drop Roadkill. This isn't where there's a secret, but you jump down, there's a lever, and bam, look, you get power-ups. Which I don't think you would get. I think they would have blown up the crate. So I use my health up, and I choose which item I want to take with me. And there's an enemy below here. You'll be able to hear it. The sound's up, and you just drop it on there and kill it. And there's another one, so you speed them up. So, I mean, there's just little things about this game. I love how this game is designed. Roadkill over here finds another this secret path over here. I grab it. And then there's 2 power-ups here. These are the question marks, again, that could blow me up. I decide I'm not going to take any of them. I have the items I need to go on here. Again, the game just, it gives you everything you need. It gives you what you need, and I accidentally power blasted. I didn't mean to do that. Luckily, Stragles popped up right where those were and blew those up for me. So I want to, talk about the bosses and the levels in general. Like, I've already been talking about level design here. These levels are, there's multiple pathways you can take. They don't alter the game drastically, but they can benefit you. Some pathways are easier than others. Like, if I hadn't let Roadkill out a couple of panels up, I would have had to gone through some more enemies. And that means I would have lost some more life. And I also got an opportunity to get 2 power-ups. It was risky, but I could have got it. Here's another instance where Roadkill's useful. I fucked this jump up, so this wasn't... I don't feel the game is being cheap here. I knew what was going to happen. I just screwed it up. But there's a mine there that Roadkill could have gone over and triggered that switch, which would have brought these down so I could jump over them. But since that lever's gone now, I have to waste my grenade. You know, I don't want to punch these because I'm going to die if I do, so I throw the grenade. That's level design. That's what I'm talking about. So you have Roadkill to handle these obstacles for you. Different pathways, different items, different enemy layers. This is where I fucked up. Okay, this is where you're going to see me die a lot. So at the beginning of this level, you get these two power-ups. They're both question marks. At the end, on my second run, I got lucky here. Both of these were items. But on my next couple of lives, I went down and I got them, and I ended up getting blown up. And then I didn't take the down path, which is the optimal path to take. You don't want to go to the right path. You lose so much life up there. And there's a health up in here, inside this barrel. So, or crate, whatever you want to call it. So I never feel like this game is screwing me. Like, even as a kid, I never felt like this game was screwing me over. I knew the risks. I know the risks every time I see a question mark, but I still pick them up because I'm an idiot and I'm greedy. And I want those items, and I'm hoping that I'll get a health. But like I said, these alternate pathways, it's well designed. You learn which routes are harder to take, which ones are easier to take. You know, and you learn you'll need certain items to take on certain pathways, and if you don't have them, then you're kind of screwed. Here's an enemy, you don't even have to fight him, bam. Save myself some life. Pick this up. And then I was an idiot and I thought I was supposed to drop that ball in the door. But that's not what you do, I don't think. So I wasted time here. But I mean, as you watch me play this, you'll just see that where all the secrets are laid out. These hazards that are doable without losing a crap ton of life, if you have the items and you have the know-how. I tried to blow this up. It wasn't. So here's a door that the TNT won't blow up. I had to grab Roadkill, otherwise he was going to go hit that switch and accidentally drop that ball on me or something. Yeah, I mean, I think it's over. The levels are so good. I love this game. I love it. And I don't feel like I'm nostalgia blind or just blinded in general by my love of this game. I genuinely feel that this game does not really suffer the problems that people say it does. I don't think it's perfect. I mean, there's a few things that they could have fixed, obviously, but it's just fun, so I'm willing to overlook a lot of the, any of the things that would be flawed to this game. The bosses in this game, there's not many. There was the dragon, there's Kung Fung, and then there's Mortis. So that I felt was a downside to this game. I would have loved more bosses, especially if the game was a little bit long. But the bosses are kind of easy to cheese out, all except Mortis. I wish I actually had completed the game here on this run, but I guess I figured I better not spoil the ending or anything like that. There's two endings to this game, and I'd rather people kind of figure them out themselves. But that's another fun thing. This game has a good ending and a bad ending, depending on what you do in that chamber. But you can cheese out the dragon with the barrel. You can cheese out Kung Fung, especially if you have items, because you just get him to run it, to run into his own nails and stuff, so you don't have to fight him normally. And I mean, it's not even like that's a secret for him. You just kind of figure it out. Here, yep, you can use the environment to your benefit, kill an enemy. It's a level design. I love it. The hazards hurt the enemies. It's not like it's only you that gets screwed over all this stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's I guess all I got to say about level designs and the bosses and stuff. God, I love this game. It's so fun. It's short. I think that's the biggest crime for me, is it's so short. But it's one of those games that I enjoy just picking up and running through. Here, I can never remember in this room what I'm supposed to do. But there's that lever up there, which I'm pretty sure I can flip, but I don't remember how. I don't know if I ever figured it out. So here I had to kind of wail on the door, which cost me a little bit against Mortis, because I didn't have any life. I tried to jump up and hit it. Then I tried to use Roadkill to see if there's any secrets in here. I couldn't find any. I couldn't remember. If anyone knows this one, please let me know on that secret. If anybody else is a fan of this game and they know, I'd really love to know what the trick to this room is, because I'd love to be able to get some more items or what that lever exactly triggers. But yeah, man, I mean, the music design, there's a question mark. I took another gamble. I got 2 power fists, so I was like, oh, okay. So I tried to use the knife to weaken the door a little bit, and then pick it up to power fists. Because Mortis does take damage from those. He doesn't kill him instantly, but you can. Here's a friggin' I love this. So you get to the end of this book, and it's not finished yet. The book isn't finished. So here you can see he hasn't even finished lining. It's lined in, but it hasn't been colored. It's just one of those nice touches. So then Mortis is like, oh fuck, don't stop my weapon. So he comes back in, and now you have to fight him. And this is where the final showdown happens. But man, I don't know if there's anything else I can do to fill the last 3 minutes. Just, yeah, I love it when you pause. He has like a little word bubble that tells pause, and it tells you how long you've been playing the game, which I think is kind of a cute little touch. I mean, it's good. I feel this game, it's such a good pick-up-and-play game. And I dropped him because I couldn't remember if there was any secrets in this level or not. So I was hoping Roadkill would go find them while I was popping off these damages. And I didn't think I was going to be able to beat Mortis here, but I gave it my best shot. Because these creeps killed me. Oh no, wait, no, Mortis got me. But the creeps were spooping me out. So yeah, I lost there. So I hadn't died throughout the entire game, so I had both of my continues. So then he says, oh, come on, that's just too easy. And I love that, too. This is another part of the concept I didn't touch on. I adore the little touches in this game where when enemies are being spawned, they don't just spawn. Mortis sketches them in for you. I think that's one of the... Yeah, here we go. So yeah, I got stupid, so I tried to pick up that question mark, and then I went the wrong way. And I don't know the optimal way to handle this room, if there is an optimal way. But I know you have to break this door, and there's enemies on the other side, and it's just a pain in the ass. This is not the way you want to go, FYI. Unless there's some optimal path I haven't figured out, I'll have to work on it. I thought I could climb that rope, because I thought I was supposed to hang off of this, and maybe it would trigger the door opening. But it didn't. But anyway, so yeah, I have my continues and stuff. So the continues I wasted here is because I got greedy, and then I got dumb. But yeah, so when enemies are drawn, come in, except for like in this case here, Mortis comes in and draws them in, and I love that touch because it shows that he's in control of you. He is basically your god at this point. You're kind of at his mercy. When you die, he comes in and like X's you out. It's like such an asshole move. It just again adds to the atmosphere of this game. Yeah, and here I was getting desperate. I was like, I'm almost out of life, and now I should have been baiting out his fireballs so I could jump over and kick him. Hindsight's 20/20, right? And then these straggles. He's got, and like enemies have anti-airs and stuff. Like enemies aren't stupid, which I love too. Yeah, I died. Game over, man. The end. Yeah, so I must have died at another point because I think this is where I'm out of continues. Yeah, free at last. So I don't remember where I lost my other continues. I wasn't paying attention. But, I mean, yeah, it's a great game. I absolutely love it. I really encourage people to pick it up.